Recording now, guys. So just to let you know, I'm gonna start explaining a little bit about QuickBooks, what we use it for. I'm gonna then show you how we make some bookings in there, and feel free to ask me any questions during the whole process, because it could be that I'm actually forgetting something really important. So if you have any questions regarding this, just let me know. Just to test again, you can now see my screen, right? Like you see QuickBooks now. You should see AIESEC in Österreich. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, guys. So how does this work? So first of all, the first thing that I have to say about QuickBooks is an accounting software that is actually a cloud-based accounting software. So that means that everything that you put in the software, everything that you record in there, it's actually stays in the cloud, right? So this means that you can actually access this information from any device. As long as you log in, you have all of your information here. This also naturally means that if you don't have an internet connection, you cannot do any bookings. Another thing that I have to say about QuickBooks is that there is a monthly price for it. They actually have different packages, and they have different packages for it, and I think it should cost around 300 euros per year. If you think that this is too expensive but you still want to implement something similar, you can also look into Wave apps. That's actually for free, and they're very similar. It doesn't have that many functionalities, but it does essentially the same. Me personally, I like QuickBooks more because it has way more options, and it actually has a very, very cool cell phone app. So that means that you can technically also do bookings from your phone. All right, so let's start with how do you actually make bookings here? What does this menu mean? So if you notice, I actually have here home, which is the dashboard, right? I already made some test bookings just because we already had a webinar earlier today, and I already made some test bookings just to see to show other people how it works. And you can actually see here the summary of this. I think I have made like 3-4 bookings, and you can see here like I have 100 and these are the 2 open invoices. I have 0 overdue invoices. I have 1 paid invoice. So this is actually very few invoices that I've made. The dashboard is like a summary of everything that is happening on your entity financially. Later I can also show you how to do the reports, which actually gives you way more insights into what is happening in your entity. Then we have the donors part. So here, this is actually something that when you're setting up QuickBooks, you actually have an option it asks you what kind of association you are. Like, are you a company? Are you a non-profit? And then you have many other options, like, are you in retail? Do you offer services? Like, in the end, I chose non-profit, and I ended up having like a template for non-profit accounting. Just to remind you again, please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions on the spot, because we might jump from menu to menu, and so that you don't forget your question, right? Okay, so yeah, so I chose non-profit, and this is why you can see donors over here. But if I would have chosen a company, or any kind of company, instead of donors here, it would show customers. So you can see interpret now donors as customers. Like, this is actually later, I might actually change it, because I think that even though AIESEC works as is a non-profit, it still has operations very much related to the way a company works. So it probably makes more sense to have customers instead of donors, because we don't work that much with donations, right? Anyway, it does the same thing. That doesn't mean that the software doesn't do all the functionalities. It just has different names for the things, right? So donors is just for how to create receivables. So that means receivables is money that people owe to you, right? So this is how to create this, and this is actually how to create invoices. So invoice is pretty much a receivable. Just invoice is like the physical paper of it. So invoice is just what you send to other customers. I'm just explaining this in case this is not clear to you, but that for some of you is actually very clear. Okay. I also see that we have more participants. So hello guys, Georgi, I see that you're here. That's amazing. And yeah, so feel free to, if you have any questions, just let me know. Hey. All right. Then we have the suppliers part. On the suppliers part is the opposite, right? So suppliers is who do we pay to, who do we owe money to, what invoices, what bills do we receive. So this is actually important not to confuse bills with invoices. Invoices is what you send out, and bills is what you receive, right? And here is where you can register everything that is that you need to pay. Then later you have employees. Honestly, I've never used this function, mainly because we normally on the MCs in a global level, they are not, they are paid as contractors, so they're not really paid as regular employees, but you get a salary per hour. So this is why I normally don't use it. So I'm sorry if I cannot explain it right now, but if you have a question about this, send me a message and we can go through it. Just I'm gonna skip this part mainly because it's not relevant for everyone. Then we have transactions, and on transactions is where you actually have banking. So this is where you can actually align your bank statement. You can literally here upload your bank statement report, and you already have it all of it here in QuickBooks, and you can actually work with it. You can pretty much just assign an account to each of your bank, how do you call them, bank transactions. Then we have sales. So here you have an overview. Here these are actually the invoices that I've made. This is like the invoices that I made on donors are actually showing up here in sales, and I can put new transactions as well. I can also create new invoices here. So this technically you can create an invoice from sales or from donors, right? So it's actually not a big difference. I will later go into that part. And then later we have reports. Reports is actually the fun part of it. It's the fun part of QuickBooks. This is where you get to see all the numbers. This is where you get to see, you know that the two most important reports for any financer to know what the status of your entity is one of it is the profit and loss statement, and the other one is the balance sheet. So in case it is not clear to you what each means, the profit and loss statement just means how much income and how much expenses we had over a certain period of time, normally a year, usually a quarter as well. And it shows you pretty much like the flow of money. Let's say not of money, but not necessarily of money, but the flow of economic movement, right? So for example, it could be that you made a 5,000 euro profit, or dollars, or whatever the currency you use is, but you were on 50,000 euro debt. So that actually doesn't tell you the whole story, right? So for that, you also have the balance sheet. So the balance sheet, it actually shows you the resources that your entity has. We're going to go through that later. So I'm just giving you an overview of what I'm going to be explaining on this webinar. So anyway, you have all of this right here in QuickBooks. And yeah, so this is pretty much the overview. Now I'm going to go into the donors part. So if you remember, donors is if you actually set it up at the beginning as a company. Again, I set it up as a non-profit, but you can also set it up as a company. This actually doesn't really matter a lot because normally the bookkeeping that we do here is mainly internal. If you're doing it externally as well, then check the laws of your own country to see exactly how you should call your organization. But anyway, so we can actually register a new donor. So I'm going to make yet another test booking, right? So here, when you create new donor or new customer, we can actually put all the data of the customer here. Feel free here to elaborate as much as you can. This is actually important because whenever you're sending an invoice, you can actually send it directly from QuickBooks, and you don't have to, and you can, when you put the email address here, you don't have to worry about exporting the invoice and then sending it. So it does everything directly. So let's call the company, let's say that a customer or a donor, we can even call it, I don't know, EP1. Again, don't get confused that it says company, right? Because this is just pretty much a customer information. Whether it's a company or a person, you can pretty much put it here. This is just a template that this thing uses. So let's call it that it's an EP1. So EP, exchange participant. I think that should be clear for everyone. And display name as EP1. I don't know what kind of options it gives you, but I'm assuming that if you fill out everything here, it should give you a few other options of how to display the name. Later here you can put email or whatever, but I'm not going to fill out the whole thing because we have limited time for the webinar. Then here I'm going to click Save. So I already created my customer or my donor, and you can see the name here, EP1, and you can see here all the details. Again, I only put the name, but you can see here all the details. But now let's put a transaction to that customer. So let's say that I want to charge that customer, let's call it an OGV fee, right? But then I realized, wait a minute, I actually don't have, like, how will QuickBooks know that OGV is a thing, right? So first I actually need to insert the OGV fee into our chart of accounts. So what is that? By the way, if it was not clear, I click transactions, then I click chart of accounts. So chart of accounts is pretty much like, let's say that if in accounting you naturally have accounts, and this is pretty much all the possible things that you can book with. Now don't get overwhelmed or don't get so let's say confused if you see that there's so many. This is just because of the template. You can actually erase all the ones that you don't need. But let's create one account that is called OGV fee. We can click in new, and it tells you here first category type. What kind of account is it? So we know that OGV fee income is an income account. Here I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure if it matters what you choose here, because I think this is also just a template. But what I do normally here is I just click whichever, and I can anyway change the name here. So I can even call it OGV fee. And I can click here, fee we charge to EPs for OGV. It's a very stupid description, but you can put whatever you want in there, like that actually makes it clear. Save and close. So now the account already exists. There's already an income account called OGV fee. I'm going to go back to donors. If you remember, I'm going to go back to EP and create EP1, the donor that we just created, or the customer, and I'm going to click create invoice. So now we actually have here the options for creating the invoice, and here you can create the product or the service, right? So here on product or service, I'm sorry if it gets a little bit confusing. This is mainly because this is the way this normally accounting software is actually made for retail companies, like at least the templates are very much focused on companies that sell products, but we don't really sell a physical product, so it's a little bit hard to make the difference, right? But here then we need to create a product or a service. So we can even call it, again, OGV sale. So don't get confused if it says OGV sale, we're actually creating a new product. I had already created it, but you know what? Let's create it again. Let's create it one more time, just so you can see. Here it tells you what product are you creating. So we can say, okay, it's a kind of service product, and I'm going to call it OGV. I'm going to call it OGV2, OGV sale 2, only because I had already created OGV sale, and I don't want it to give me an error saying that I already created something similar, but I created it for the other example on the earlier webinar, right? And then it tells you category. Again, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have them categorized, but you can also have them categorized to organize yourself better. For me, it's actually not so important, but what is important is which income account it goes to. So to me, my OGV sales, I'm going to put them on the account that I just created, which is called OGV, which should be on income. I hope I find it here. Well, I think I can even look for it like this. Here it is, OGV fee. So remember, this is the one that we just created. I'm going to click save and close. And now I created a service called OGV Sale 2, right? And let's call this, here we can even put the name of the EP. Let's say EP1 on the 30th of September. I mean, you don't even have to put the date. It's just a description that actually makes it easier for you to find it, right? Then you put quantity 1, and then you put amount. Let's say you put here 300 euros. So now I pretty much already created the invoice. Here you have the option to save and send. If I actually put an email here, I can actually send the invoice directly to the customer, right? Here, because this is obviously a person that doesn't exist, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click save. And the invoice 1003 was created. Because this is the third invoice that I create, QuickBooks automatically numbers them. Remember that this is a normal accounting law says that you need to number each of your invoices. So this QuickBooks already does this automatically. Then, if I actually go to reports, I can even go to my profit and loss statement. And if you notice, on my profit and loss statement, I already have the 300 euros in there. So how cool is this, that everything that I'm putting in there for invoices and for bills, it actually shows up automatically on the profit and loss statement, and you don't have to worry about reporting anymore because everything is actually done automatically for you. Then, yeah, so this is how you create an invoice. Now, here is another tricky, let's not say tricky, but something that not a lot of people know about accounting, that here, even though they haven't paid me yet, like even though the customer hasn't paid me, the accounting software already registered this as income. So that means that the income is registered the moment you create the invoice, right? This is what they call the accrual method in accounting, but this is, let's not get too much into that, but this is how it works, right? Good. Now I'm going to show you then how that looks like in the on the balance sheet. So if you remember, the balance sheet is shows you resources. So the profit and loss statement shows you income and expenses, and the balance sheet shows you resources. And you can actually see that well, actually you cannot see it directly because you don't know what I booked before, but of these 650, 300 belong to the invoice that I just created, because this is part of accounts receivable. Probably if I click on it, I can actually see it. Yes, here it is. So you can actually see the 300 euros that I just created. And it's part of my assets because it's like already money that like legally should belong to me, right? Okay, so that's for how to create an invoice of money that people owe to you. Then later, how do you book an invoice? Sorry, a bill. Sorry that I'm also confusing the term sometimes. How do you actually book a bill of money that you owe to people, right? So this is actually a little bit simpler because you don't have to create a product or a service. You just book directly. Let's create a supplier. And let's call company, just as an example, let's call them OP Taker 1. Again, here you can feel free to fill out the whole thing according to the company. The more information you put in, the more overview you have. So I'm going to put only that. I'm going to put save. And now I already created my company called OP Taker 1. Now I can create a bill here. And what do OP takers do? They take OPs. So I can actually find an account here. I'm actually not sure if I had already created it for the other example. I think I did. So here, let's see. IGT, I think. No, I created for income from OP takers. Let's say that at some point you have to pay money to them, right? So I can actually go to transactions, chart of accounts. Then we can actually create a new one. I don't know what you would have to pay money to an OP taker company, but I just wanted to give a more AIESEC example. Let's see. Expenses. So again, if you notice, I'm doing pretty much the same thing I did for the other one for income. You're just kind of doing the reverse, right? And here, as I told you, normally I don't care for these categories. I normally choose one and then change the name. Let's just call it here. And name, let's call it other cost. Or let's say cost from OP takers. Just randomly, like, again, this is not a statement on how you actually should charge, if you should ever even charge. Let's see, save and close. I can go back to suppliers, go to OP taker, and I can create a new transaction, a new bill. And as I said before, you can pretty much here just put the account that I just created, cost from OP takers. And here you put whatever the description of the cost it was. And here you put the amount on the bill. So here it's actually much easier because the only thing you have to think about here is in which account you put it. Everything else is pretty much stated already on the bill, right? So let's say that they charge us, I don't know, 900 euros. Again, you can also choose your currency on QuickBooks, so don't think that everything is just in euros. Then I'm just going to put save. And what I did just now, I created a liability towards, like a liability that is, like that means money that we actually owe to someone, right? And again, if you go to reports and you go to profit and loss statement, notice how in my profit and loss statement on costs from OP takers, I have already 900 euros there. So this is actually, if you notice, the more accounts you create and the more you book into accounts, you're pretty much creating here your realized budget template. Like this is what the profit and loss statement is. Like the more like detailed your accounts are, the more it actually overview you actually get here, right? And this you can fully customize this to your own entity, and you actually get everything realized. And this is also super important and super relevant when you're thinking about presenting your company to external stakeholders, because I can tell you whenever we want to apply for funds, for any kind of European or international funds, they ask us for a profit and loss statement and balance sheet, or from our because this is actually information that is giving the external institutions how the company or how the NGO or whatever you want to call it is doing. Good, so that's the part I already showed you how to create for donors and for suppliers. Let's just show you how to pay, how to show a payment, because this is just pretty much creating the debt. So let's show just how to pay for it. So we can actually go to transactions. We can go to sales. And if you go to sales, remember the EP1 invoice that we created, we can now put receive payment. So let's say that we book here receive payment. Let's say that they didn't pay the full amount. They only paid 299 euros. So they actually still owe €1. You can just click here. And if you notice, on the invoice here, it says that EP1, the status is partial. That means that it's partially paid, it's not fully paid, because there is still €1 balance in there. And this is actually shows you the payment. Something that I didn't show, I can actually go back to the payment. You can pretty much show here where do you want to, into which bank account, or where is the money going to. So here I automatically shows cash and cash equivalents, but you can actually put main bank account, or you can actually customize it according to how many bank accounts you have in your entity. You can put it there on bank account. Are you sure you want to modify it? Yes. Correct. Good. So this is the way it goes to process payments. I'm actually gonna go back. I don't know if I have. Okay, good. Now reports. I had already shown you like how the balance sheet and profit and loss statement. You can actually have a company snapshot. This is actually one of my favorite reports because you get like really cool graphs. This is actually super cool when you want to present to your general assembly or to external stakeholders. You pretty much get the overview of your company right here. And you can see the OP taker income that I registered earlier is here. Sorry, it was not this webinar, it was on the other one. What I registered here was cost from OP takers. I have an IC fee here that I also showed as an example earlier. So you can actually see pretty much a result of all the fake transactions that I did on all the past webinars. And yeah, this is pretty much how it works. Like I don't think I can tell you more about this because software is just about learning the basic stuff and everything else is just about you playing with it. So I would like to open this space for questions for you guys in case you have any questions on how to use this software, or if you any questions on how to get it or how to implement it in your entity. I'm very much open to it. Okay, I'm just gonna wait just for 2 awkward minutes to see if anyone has a question. Okay, Natalia is typing.
Otherwise, again, next year you will get the same issue, but the email is matched at some point, and then I don't know the next B5 about it,
Yes, you can pretty much customize them, Giorgio. You can pretty much. I haven't done it yet. I think I can find it right now. Let's see, because I think it's on settings here, and then you can. One of these is customize invoices, custom form styles. Here, this is your invoice. So you can pretty much do everything that you want in here with the invoice. I think that you can also insert a logo here. You can put the AIESEC logo. You can put the colors. Like you can do a lot with the way you want to send the invoice. So this is actually very customizable. Can I work like the MC is the main account and LCs are associated accounts? Actually, that's a very good question. They also asked me that on the other webinar. Hold on. Do I want to live without saving? Yes. I haven't tried that out yet. Like, I don't know exactly how it works with associated accounts. I know that you can manage users and that you can add other people to collaborate, but I would assume that it's actually quite complicated to add more than one account in here. Like, I don't think that, like, again, I could actually get back to you on that because they also asked me earlier on the webinar. I will look it up, but I'm almost sure that it's not possible, that you need to have a different one for each independent entity. But again, I can also check it. You can also technically work around it. Like you can work around it in the sense that you can create accounts. Your chart of accounts can be divided according to the LCs, but that would be much more complicated, and you run the risk of someone not knowing how to use the software and booking something into other LC. You know, so that's actually a risk. But I will look it up for sure.
It's weird.
No problem, I understood the first time. Do you have any problems with external audit by using the software? No, not really. And I think there's also an option to share this with your accountant. So, or like, honestly, I still haven't had an external audit using this because I was using another software earlier, but this is a normal, very qualified accounting software. I don't think there should be any problem with it. I think the problem with it should be the way you book things. Like if you book them incorrectly, then it could be a problem. But the accounting software by itself is a very, very official software that you can use. Especially, and it's actually very good for small companies, I think, because it doesn't. Um, I don't think we need more than this in AIESEC. Can that invoice create a real payment link for the EP, or can I connect? For that, no. I think for that, as far as I know, there is no service for you to pay directly. I would have to check as well if you can actually connect it through your bank account. I mean, I know you can connect your bank account in the sense of connecting your statements, but connecting payments might be a little bit more complicated. No, I don't think that's possible to add a payment fee. So what you can do is just do the payments normally and then import your bank statement, let's say every week or every 2 weeks, and then you do the bookings according to your bank statement. Like that's a possibility. Oh, you mean a PayPal link, like having like an actual URL link in the invoice? Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, that I'm sure is possible because you can customize this in many possible ways. We can actually look it up now. So let's see. That was custom form styles here. Uh, activity table. More. Footer. I'm not sure about that, but it wouldn't surprise me that is like it should be possible because I know that the invoices are very like you can put pretty much any information on the invoice. So I don't think that should be a big problem. I think it should go here under the activity table. Yeah. Again, I can look it up. I'm writing it here on my notes just to look up for the LCMC accounts and also look for this. Okay, so do we have any more questions? Nope, nope. No problem, Georgie. I hope you guys understood it. If you have any other questions, please let me know. You can also write me on my email address. I'm gonna write it here. LC version of QuickBooks Online, would you advise for MC and LC? I would advise mainly for MC because I think that honestly it could be a very, it depends how big the LCs are, because if it would be up to me, I would put bigger LCs who can actually afford it, have QuickBooks, and smaller LCs have Wave. They anyway work very similarly, just QuickBooks is actually more comfortable to use when you have way more transactions. When you don't have that many transactions, Wave is actually good enough for it. So if you have if you come from an entity that has 33 LCs and you have 2 or 3 LCs that are actually having more money than the MC, then of course it makes sense for them to have QuickBooks. But again, for smaller entities, I would say Wave should be enough. If you were not here from the beginning, Wave is the alternative to QuickBooks, which is actually a free version and it's actually more simple. It's a more austere version of QuickBooks. Alright guys, so are there any more questions? I think Georgie and Natalia, you guys had no questions. So perfect, then I'm gonna disconnect now. Thanks a lot for joining the webinar. Just to let you know that this webinar was actually recorded. So you can also look it up on the wiki. If you actually miss part of the information, you can find all this video on the wiki. Awesome. Good. So see you guys and thanks a lot for joining. Ciao.
Okay.
Tania